Shane, we are live.
Hello.
Okay, let's get started. Hi, I'm Christina Pan. Welcome to the first episode of my LinkedIn Live podcast. I started my career on Wall Street, got my MBA from MIT Sloan, was a product leader in tech startups and high growth companies for over 20 years, and I'm an executive coach helping executives and CEO founders who are stuck at major inflection points. I specialize in helping you use your zone of genius to get clarity and confidence in your next chapter. So this is the first episode ever, and I don't actually have a defined plan for my podcast yet. But as I tell myself and my clients, progress over perfection. And so my goal in these conversations is to share spicy takes or non-obvious insights to inspire you and help you get unblocked to be the best version of you. So a quick housekeeping note. For those of you listening live, we'll definitely open it up to questions at the end. So feel free to post your questions in the comments along the way. And now I'm super excited to have Shane Keats here today. Woo! I met Shane when we were at business school at MIT Sloan. And like all of our classmates, he struck me as super smart and highly confident. And Shane is a B2B go-to-market and marketing senior executive and one of my brilliant executive coaching clients. And so Shane was a TV producer at NBC and CNN before pivoting into his illustrious tech career. He led sales and marketing at a crazy .com era startup, followed by 2 startups with successful exits, and most recently was a longtime executive leader at Akamai. And so our conversation today is the result of us reconnecting back in January. Shane, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Christina. I'm so glad to be here. I'm delighted to be your inaugural guinea pig, I guess. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Okay, so what originally prompted you to reach out to me? Let's start there.
It was an unfortunate event in my professional life. I and the team that I was leading, along with about 300 other people, were part of a big layoff at Akamai at the end of last year. I'd been at Akamai for 9 years, so the severance package was terrific, and I gave myself a couple of weeks to kind of chill and adjust to this big change. And then I started to look for my next adventure, my next opportunity. There was a CEO at a startup that I was interested in, and you happen to be connected to that person. So I reached out to you to look for a warm introduction. And we got on one of these calls, not live, and started to talk about it. And I'm kind of embarrassed to share this, but I let you look at something I had sent in LinkedIn through a LinkedIn message. And you were really candid and said, Shane, I don't know, it kind of sounds kind of junior. And I got to tell you, Christina, like even now as I think about this, even though it's 7 months ago, I still cringe at how out of practice I was at trying to find work and trying to describe my potential value to the companies that I was applying to. You turned the conversation into, Shane, maybe you should think about coaching. I didn't realize actually that you had become an executive coach. I said, I'll think about it. And I sat on it for the suggestion for about a week, and I realized I was utterly paralyzed at this point. Like I could not customize a resume. I couldn't reach out to anybody. And I realized I had no idea how to go about this, and I knew I needed help. And there was something about the generosity in how you responded to that little piece of writing I had done and said, Shane, it's a little bit junior for you. And I realized, oh, you might be the right match for me, or at least it's going to be worth a try. And so I signed on the dotted line.
Oh, worth a try. Okay. Well, actually, Shane, yeah, well, one, I want to acknowledge you because, as you had mentioned in our conversation, you hadn't had to look for a job in over 9 years. And so I know a lot of folks out there also in that boat and might have a lot of trepidation about it and how to do it in this era. But also, secondly, I wanted to bring up that Shane, I don't know if you remember, but at the end of our coaching together, you hilariously said you were very skeptical and reluctant about executive coaching, and you couldn't believe you were signing up for coaching with me, which I was like surprised by at the end. But so tell us more about that.
I had, people who are listening should know that you and I got to a place where we were pretty candid with each other about a lot of things. And it's one of the things I really ended up loving about the coaching that we did. But early on, I was really, really resistant to the coaching, and Akamai was a terrific place to work, and I had experienced some coaching there. But it was very tactical, like how do you deal with this particular issue at work? It rarely touched on what for me were kind of the more strategic, or what I think of as kind of whole person issues that I think were holding me back. I had done Clifton Strengths a few years before you and I reconnected, and I thought that was great. I felt like it really captured my strengths. But from a coaching perspective, I was like, I can go this alone. I've taught myself so many things. I can figure this out. And then there was something, Christina, too, about your style, that you're so positive, and I'm just, part of my MO is like, I've never met a flaw of mine that I didn't want to celebrate instead of a strength. And so I was really like, this is going to be oil and water. And it took a while to get over that.
Okay. And so then as we got into our coaching, I know there were a lot of cringy moments. And also often when we are in a transition, disruption is the next thing that follows starting a new transition, which you were in, and maybe many of the folks who are listening today as well. So tell me more about this meaty, spicy part of your journey. Like, for example, I remember you jokingly said at some point in the middle, like, "Oh, I hate you." Right? Tell me more about that.
I only said that once. Are you kidding? Come on. You made me do things that were incredibly uncomfortable for me. Maybe one of the, maybe before I share to the viewers how you helped me kind of solve it, I should probably lay out the kinds of things that you were doing that were making me so uncomfortable. You gave me some worksheets that is kind of homework prior to individual sessions, and I would fill them out. Important questions about what are your values, what's important to you, and that was fine. But interestingly, almost every time I would have a value, I would say, "But I can't find that in the corporate world." And so I had a built-in kind of negative bias because I come out of journalism. I mean, it's a very different world than enterprise SaaS marketing. I struggled to figure out how that actually was a strength and potentially of value to the right kind of company. And then you shared a worksheet which forced me to think about things I was really good at. And it was in the context of Clifton Strengths, which you beautifully had described as the zone of genius. And at first I was like, oh, this is just power of positive thinking crap. And then and it was one of the times where I said, I think I hate you. And what I realized after we kind of thought about it a little bit was that what you were doing was helping me understand that the strengths that I do have, when you capture them holistically, become a particular zone of genius, like almost like a log line or um, a statement of a single statement of value that ladders down into individual things that you do really, really well. Maybe I'll pause there because I think I just said an awful lot. I want to let you defend yourself, even though I kept saying I hate you.
Yeah, so I mean, I find that with quite a few people who I've worked with who have mentioned that they are, very hard on themselves. And and it is our natural human inclination to jump to what we lack or like the negatives or people wanting to focus on their weaknesses. And I'm very a big believer in first, okay, let's get your strengths right first, like your zone of genius, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, the way I define it is a mashup of Clifton strengths, like your top 5 strengths, and how you personally like to use your natural gifts and talents in the world. So like, even if Shane and I have the same top strengths, and we do actually overlap in a few of our top strengths, Clifton strengths, we will both use it differently in the world because we have different purposes in the world. We have different personalities. And part of that is also just reframing how we are, viewing ourselves, because that affects how we show up in interviews, which was like one of your goals, right? And so,
Yeah,
could
I
you
mean,
talk more about how like the cringy reframings we talked about?
yeah, I mean, my most immediate need was around I got to get better at interviewing for jobs, and the layoffs that I was a part of were coming at a really lousy time in in tech. It's companies are super profitable, but they're trimming workforces. I mean, there's plenty of jobs out there, but even today, when I go and look at an opportunity I think I might be good at, there's often hundreds of applicants by the time I see it. So I knew that I had to get better at that. Um, the the way that one of the ways that you helped me kind of work through strengths and what for me were genuine weaknesses were that you helped me think about my zone of genius holistically. And so I was able to come up with a series of reframings that became, you encouraged me to do kind of daily mantras almost. And I ended up coming up with 3 over time. And I know, look, I've done enough therapy that I know that repetition and the act of speaking something out loud, getting out of your head, and for head cases like me who are overly intellectual, excuse me, that the act of speaking and getting something out of your body is incredibly powerful. And so you kept hammering me to do these, and in the act of doing them, I wasn't making stuff up. These were genuine strengths that Clifton Strengths assessment had shown, through our conversations and the homework you'd given me, had shown to be true. Like there was evidence for why I'm strong at X or Y. But the act of doing them and saying them, it was so hard at first, Christina. And so I don't know whether it was you or me who came up with cringy reframing as our description for it. But over time, I just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And I've gotten to a place where I feel really comfortable with these kinds of things, and can confidently go into a job interview without sort of hemming and hawing.
Yes, and we will get to what the result of all that repetition and practice was in a bit. But Yeah, another thing I wanted to point out is like, even though a lot of people have not taken the Clifton Strengths or strengths assessment in general, but if they have, like some of my clients have taken it 4 times, they didn't apply it in real life. And so that is where, like, what is your opinion now that you've been through, like, actually applying it, externalizing about it, like tailoring it and personalizing it for how your zone of genius for
I,
you?
I'm sorry I interrupted, but I
Oh,
think
go
I
ahead.
think I get where you're going. When I had done the assessment a year or two prior to us reconnecting, as I said, I really felt like it captured me, but I didn't apply it. I didn't actually use it and embody it. I didn't practice it. I'd forgotten the art of practice. And so one of my strengths is context, which can be both about history and how something got to be where it is, but also in the present, all of the forces, market forces, org forces, personality forces that shape and affect a challenge or an opportunity. And combined with another time I had done this where learner was in my either top 5 or top 10, I began to realize, oh, I'm really, really good at processing net new information, taking in the context of it, and being able to then apply it in whatever I'm doing as an arranger, for example, and helping to solve problems. And so I was faced with an opportunity at uh, a data management company. And I don't know data management deeply. Like, I don't know the difference between Postgres QL versus NoSQL versus MySQL. I don't know the difference between a data warehouse, a data lake, and a data lakehouse. But I learned how to do all this stuff. And I was able to approach it confidently. And I made it 5 rounds through one of the hottest companies out there right now that isn't not not native AI. And even though I didn't get the job, I was like, damn, Shane, you made it 5 rounds. You talked the talk as well as walked the walk because you made it through 5 rounds. And I owe that to my sort of native strengths, but then the work that you helped me do to recognize and then put those strengths forward in a job situation. So
Yes, and related to that, like many folks might have self-doubts or trepidation, right, about like that next executive level for them, or even more related to this time, like how can I pivot to AI and leverage all my experience? So could you speak more about maybe how you leveraged like that
yeah,
challenge, like with your learner and like pivoting to AI and leveraging your wealth of experience and leadership?
it's funny. It's not just AI. Because I'm a curious, like I'm a naturally curious person. I don't know where curiosity is in Clifton's strengths, but I don't think it's a strength in and of itself. But um, I applied to, not even applied, there was no job at a startup based out of Massachusetts that was doing superconducting electrical conduction wires designed to connect data warehouses with solar and wind farms, and basically get net new renewables on the grid. And I put together a marketing plan, found a connection to the CEO, got a call with him. He said, yes, our marketing sucks, but I don't think I need marketing. I gave him the plan. Like, I never would have been confident to do that. Like, my imposter syndrome, Christina, would have been overwhelming. And one of the things that our work together reminded me of is like childhood stuff that affected the creation, like how I ended up with imposter syndrome. And then I remembered a guy I worked with at Akamai, one of the smartest people I've ever met, one of the most accomplished people. And he once shared that he too suffered imposter syndrome. And I'm like, how can that be? You're like, you're incredible. Like we all do. We have to acknowledge that we do. But with your help, plus sort of the inner stuff that I was able to uncover, I had no qualms about reaching out to the CEO of a hot startup and saying, I should start your marketing efforts. Ultimately, his board decided that they still didn't want to. They were a year out from commercial availability and it was too soon. And that's fine. But back to your AI issue, I just applied to one of the major frontier model companies. And I have no, like I can talk about MCP to a first approximation and backpropagation to a first approximation. And I'm also comfortable saying, once you get to a second level of detail, I can't tell it to you over the job interview, but the fact that I can process this that fast, you're not going to find anybody better at that. Plus, I know how to tell stories and I know how to connect with human beings.
Damn right, in that zone of genius.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry, I keep going. I didn't mean.
No, God, not at all. I mean, like Andres Karpathy, one of the sort of the leading lights of generative AI, posted on Twitter a little while ago, X, I guess. Agency is greater than intelligence, which I've translated into agency is greater than expertise. What he was saying is that when all of the world's knowledge is available through an LLM, assuming you can get it not to hallucinate, the ability to act on information and do something with it is more important than having that information already resident in cache, the storage, hot storage of your brain. And I think that's really, really powerful. Like if you want to hire an athlete, I'm your guy. If you want to hire an expert, I'm expert at some things, but I'm not an expert at everything, but I can quickly become an expert. What I'm able to do, and what the Clifton work did, the sort of understanding how everything fit together in my particular zone of genius is that I can process whatever I need to learn really quickly with the help of these incredible tools. But what others might not have that I do is an understanding of how to communicate that to a fellow human being. And I can figure out, maybe because I was a journalist for a long time, if you're a salesperson, I can tell you how to talk to that end prospect in the language of their industry. I can talk to that prospect about why Akamai's API security suite is so good at giving visibility and observability to your infrastructure that you need for DORA compliance. And as soon as they hear that you're talking DORA compliance, they're like, oh, this guy and this company get who I am and what I need, instead of going and saying, how much API sec do you need? So.
Okay, I don't know some of those words you just said, but well, I just want to point out also that you being able to hone in on the best of your zone of genius, like you just talked about right now, and I want to go into a little more next, is from you doing so much work and a ton of iterations and externalizing and repetitions that we did together in our work together. And also because you are so multi-talented at like 100 things. Like many of the people probably gonna listening to this podcast also are good at many, many things. And I find the challenge with a lot of clients is honing down to the best of your zone of genius.
Yeah.
Out of the like 50, 100 things that you're really good at. And like, yeah, when we did the different written exercises, you had like so many, there were like pages of amazing good stuff. So it was mainly about digging out the best gems. And then,
I I was just going to say that I still have homework. You and I haven't. We finished our engagement, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, something like that. And I still want to take all of our recordings, upload them into Notebook LM, which is this great tool from Google, which can then create summaries of the material so that it can become a study guide and a cheat sheet for me. But I will say this, though, Christina, one thing that our work together reminded me is that, yes, I actually like learning and I'm good at learning. I'd forgotten that because after a while, at 9 years at a company, you stop learning as fast or as much as you used to. You have to do the work. You can't get an LLM they can summarize for you and give you
yes.
a cheat sheet.
Tell people about that time you try to put your stuff through ChatGPT and it didn't come back with as good results as together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
not that it can improve, but yes.
Say that again.
Not that it can. I'm sure it will improve. ChatGPT and AI is improving exponentially. So.
Yeah, it's not a dig on AI. It's a dig on the human tendency to want a shortcut. Like I will, to your listeners today, to our listeners, like, working with you is hard work. If you want to get something out of it, you have to be willing to put in the work between the sessions, and whether it's through writing, talking out loud, wrestling with sort of challenging kind of whole person stuff, stuff from your past, all those things that make you cringe about yourself, and your resistance to celebrating the things that are really amazing about yourself. You got to be willing to do that work. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
Yes. I like to say it's hard, but it does not have to be daunting with executive coaching.
Yeah.
Even for myself, when I get coaching, I'm going through hard things and it's not daunting because I have the right support. And so I actually want to pivot topics more to the end of your journey. Before we go there, I want to say you are incredible for calling out what almost nobody talks about publicly in terms of talking about imposter syndrome and the fact that nobody talks about it. And that I want people to know that's the number one topic that people bring up in executive coaching. And not just with me. I've also talked with other mentors and executive coaches, and they said the same as well. So I want everyone to know you're in the same boat as everybody else. Nobody talks about it. There's definitely more spicy future podcasts to dig into different aspects of this more. And people don't even necessarily know coming in. Like, they don't come in and say, my top problem is imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
It's actually something that emerges through our conversations and our work together. And so back to you. So we worked together like 5, almost 6 months. How did you know when this worked?
I knew it worked when I started to I knew it worked when I could deliver my spicy take about marketing and my particular zone of genius without cringing and without, and I won't use the negative, and with belief and conviction, and not feeling like it was bullshit. And I'm happy to say that I've had a number of amazing interviews since you and I finished up, and it rolls. God.
Even before we finished up, throughout our whole journey, you were interviewing and like evolving.
Getting better and better, and it's now, it's not quite second nature, but it's damn close.
Wow, that is amazing. That is what we want.
Yeah.
As I tell you and my other clients, we don't need these reframings anymore. Like, when it's not cringy anymore and it's who you are.
Yeah.
It's in your muscle memory. It's in your mind, body, heart, and soul, as we like to say. You and
Yeah,
I.
I know. It's like, oh, please! It's so like West. You're so West Coast. I'm so East Coast.
But you are like everybody in transitions is actually like major career inflection points. You are undergoing an identity transition.
Yeah.
And so that is where the internal friction comes from, is that you're undergoing an identity transition, even if you don't know it. And so for you, Shane, so did cringy mean for you like it felt like bullshit? Is that what you said? Because I want people to know, like, everyone has a different term of what cringy means.
Yeah, cringy meant that I felt like I was being a used car salesperson instead of my authentic self, and the words haven't changed, but in terms of how I describe my potential value to a company, but I've reframed it literally, so that it just actually feels authentic. And I'm not saying I'm the greatest person in the world. I'm saying that there's some things that I'm really, really good at. And one of the things early on that you and I came up with that has guided me throughout this is I don't know how to set this up properly, so I'll just say it. We came up with it's not a mantra. I don't know what it is. Go where I am celebrated, not tolerated. There's a lot of companies out there that could benefit from what I can do, but they might tolerate who I am and the style I have and the fact that I'm East Coast and all that comes with East Coast punk rock heritage. But I want to go someplace that celebrates me, where I don't have to constantly feel like I'm wearing a mask or hiding who I am. So, and that's guided the kinds of companies that I apply to, and I'm pretty confident that I'll find a company where you can tell in the first interview whether it's going to be a place where you're going to have to wear heavy mask armor or not. So.
Oh my God, I love your vulnerability. And I'll tell you, you are the greatest person in the world at your zone of genius.
Okay, so this is where you and I are going to continue to differ. Like, no, I'm not. Like, there are certain human beings who are, yes, I am a great human being.
The greatest at your zone of genius. Yes. And so, we saw that quote. It's on the internet. They're like, go where you're celebrated, not tolerated.
Yeah.
So actually back to your spicy take and zone of genius, like your elevator pitch that you are using in interviews. Would you like to share with the audience a preview of that? Pretend we're in an interview. So Shane, tell me about yourself.
Yeah, I think you were trying to get there in the question you asked before, and I'm like, so, okay. I want to acknowledge, by the way, that you gave me permission to say this, which is that I think a lot of marketing, especially business to business marketing, is broken. I think it fundamentally forgets that behind every PowerPoint presentation at an EBC or a keynote, that there is a human being who wants to be educated. They want to learn. They want to be inspired. They want to be challenged. They want to be entertained. We are human beings, and somehow marketing all sounds the same. I don't know what happened, but it's like if everybody is the leading provider, then no one is the leading provider. And words actually matter, and because people aren't stupid, talk to them like they're smart, and they'll respond in kind. My particular ability is that, unlike almost every marketer that I know, I'm exceptionally good at finding that core value that speaks to the person I'm trying to communicate to. And I can help them understand it and decide whether it's going to be of value to them or not. There's this I don't say, although you tell me I should. There's this amazing guy named John Boyd from the U.S. Air Force who invented the OODA loop, which is a very famous thing that's now applied into business and all sorts of other U.S. Air Force. Basically reinvented the entire United States Air Force. And he never met a general who didn't piss him off. And he just kept speaking truth to power and was able to change one of the most hidebound institutions in the world. And I like to think that I am a bit of a maverick like John Boyd, that if you bring me into your company, I'm going to help you tell great stories. And when I see that going wrong, I will respectfully suggest ways to change it.
Yes, you are the Shane Keats and John Boyd of B2B marketing.
Oh God, you put me on the spot.
Sorry, yeah, and yeah, I had no shoulds. I would say could. Should is has a lot of weight to it, but that would be amazing if you could integrate that in your interview conversations. Because I think it is very aligned with who you are.
I keep trying, and maybe for your people considering working with you, like also recognize that even when you're done, you're still going to have work to do. Like I'm still trying to get, like the first part of that was utterly fluent, and then when I start talking about being a maverick, gets more uncomfortable. So the work is never ending, but honestly, the journey is the destination. So.
Oh, cringey's great. That is our growth edge.
Yeah. Hey, can I put you on the spot?
Okay.
I don't think I've ever asked you this. What's your zone of genius, my friend?
Oh, okay. The tables are turned. But I am all about zone of genius, so I gotta walk the talk. So my zone of genius is maximizing other people's zone of genius, like you, all my clients, other people. So that is why I love being an executive coach, because I specialize in helping people use their zone of genius at major inflection points, as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, when they don't have clarity or confidence in their next chapter. And so that could look like either, for example, executives like yourself who want to use their zone of genius to be able to stand out in interviews and sell themselves with confident energy, just like you just gave with your spicy take and your spiel about your zone of genius and John Boyd and being a maverick and marketing. Or this also could look like I also help CEO founders who are navigating a new inflection point. Often when their team hits around 8 to 15 people and they're undergoing an identity transition in that as well. So like both examples are all my clients, they're undergoing identity transitions. And you may or may not know it, but that is what happens at inflection points. So yes, that's my my zone of genius.
I validate your claim. So you're really
thank you.
Yeah, you're really terrific at it. Thank you.
Okay, so Shane, before we wrap up, where are you at now? I'm sure people are curious, like where have you landed, or where are you in your journey from our work together?
I'm working through a potential contract role to start the marketing function at a video Gen AI startup, Series A. And this consumer focus, not B2B. So be going back to my roots during the .com era, which would be hella fun. And then I'm also looking at an opportunity essentially to run marketing for an ad tech company in the television industry in New York. So hopefully one of those two works out. And if not, I have a couple of other earlier irons in the fire. But to our discussion, I want to make sure that I'm going someplace where I'm celebrated. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes. Don't settle. Keep going until you find somewhere that really leverages your zone of genius and where you're celebrated, not tolerated. I love that attitude and how you really embrace that way of living. Anything else you want to add about zone of genius or anything else before we wrap up?
Well, I've been toying with, I've been enjoying publishing on LinkedIn, just sort of particularly thoughts around, as I'm kind of self-educating around AI and what's MCP, what's MEC and TERP, et cetera. So if folks want to follow me on LinkedIn, I would appreciate the follow. And I'd love to hear what they're learning, because I'm genuinely curious about what my peers are figuring out. And this is crazy, crazy time we're living through. So
crazy fun. And that, I mean, you're having a lot of crazy.
Well, I'm looking for work, my friend. So I don't know if it's crazy fun, but it's crazy.
Crazy fun in this AI era. Yeah. I've been using it a ton in my business as well. And so, yeah, so for everyone, the best way to connect with Shane and get more of his spicy takes is to connect with him on LinkedIn. Shane, last question for you. What's one cool thing you've discovered recently that could be valuable for the audience? Just a fun question.
Well, to my fellow marketers, I don't know where I found this, but it is a database of prompts specific to B2B marketing that are filterable by function, demand gen, MarTech stack, content creation, SDRs, et cetera. So let me quickly find the link, Christina, and I can drop it in comments.
Yes.
Because it's really, really good and it's exhaustive.
And what was the most valuable thing about it?
I think one of the things I've learned, like I'm a pretty good prompt engineer. I've been vibe coding lately and realized I'm really good at front end prompts, but I really suck at back end. Like I cannot get the RAG to work properly for what I'm trying to do. I haven't given up, but having some starter prompts, particularly for specific things you're trying to accomplish, can really unlock for your brain, oh, that's how I need to prompt in a way that the LLM will get it. So that's kind of why I think this is so useful. Think of it as like a source for inspiration, something like that.
Okay, fascinating. Yes, we will put the information in the comments for the LinkedIn Live event. And it looks like we don't have any questions in the comments. So I will wrap up. So if you were inspired by what Shane shared today and you're in a similar journey and want to get the same results for you, your own version, of course, tailored to you, we can set up a 10-minute clarity call to see if I can help you too. You can book a call on my LinkedIn profile or feel free to message me on LinkedIn. And so, Shane, I really celebrate you for your incredible vulnerability and your immense openness. I really love your radiant energy. And anyone watching this and feeling inspired by Shane, the good news is this is fully within your control too. So.
I'm sorry that you ended it so beautifully. It's like you should have been a television newscaster, and I can say this as somebody who has produced like famous people like Tom Brokaw.
Oh my God, I'm so flattered.
I'm interrupting because I haven't set up StreamYard yet to be able to allow me to post the link.
Okay. So we could do it on LinkedIn after. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. And feel free to give us feedback or comments in the LinkedIn Live event comments.
Thank you, Christina.
Bye, until next time.
See you. Bye, everybody.